There are certain stories that are told and repeated with such confidence that they come to be accepted as well-known fact. Such is the case with Pope Pius XII, the pope who served during the turbulent years of World War II. The oft-repeated claim is that Pope Pius was a Nazi sympathizer, or at very least he was tepid in his opposition to the Nazi regime. Those who repeat this claim about Pope Pius speak as though this is common knowledge. Books and plays have been written about this, and notable figures like the late Christopher Hitchens would mention this in debates about the Catholic Church. But is this true? In the myth of Hitler's Pope, Rabbi David Dalin challenges this notion that Pius XII was a Nazi sympathizer, and he sets the record straight on many of the more common allegations leveled against the Pope and the Catholic Church in general. Dalin provides ample evidence that the Pope and other Catholic leaders were instrumental in helping thousands of persecuted Jews and other people escape danger at the hands of the Nazis. This included sheltering Jews, ordering other priests and church officials to assist them, and providing substantial financial assistance to facilitate their escape. There were a couple things that I really liked about this book. First, Dalin delves a little bit into the history of the church as it relates to the treatment of Jews in Christendom. Now, I always thought that the portrayal of medieval Christians was a bit unfair. The fact that they were given to superstitions, violence, and prejudices is not surprising, considering that they had many disadvantages and that their civilization had not yet developed enough when they were first introduced to Christianity. In fact, they were violent and superstitious before they became Christian. Still, because of the well-documented instances of violence against the Jews in medieval Europe, most people assume that the Church's treatment of Jews was always hostile. However, as Dalin points out, in spite of the many injustices dealt to the Jews, there was also a long history of genuine papal efforts directed toward protecting the Jewish people. As far back as Pope Gregory's decree in the 500s and continuing through the centuries, some Catholic popes provided substantial assistance to the Jewish people. One of the marks of a good book is that it will provoke an interest in a subject, such that other sources are consulted. And there are indeed some other really good books and articles on this subject. Some interesting things that I learned while trying to confirm some of the information in the book are as follows. I had no idea about the size and scale of the effort made on the part of many Christians all over Europe and from various denominations to help the Jews. I always knew there were some notable Christians that engaged in these efforts. I recall growing up in Christian school, we learned about Corrie ten Boom and the ten Boom family. Corrie being the author of The Hiding Place, the family, a family of Dutch Reformed Christians who hid Jews in their home. For their efforts, they were imprisoned in concentration camps where some of the family perished. But there were so many others as well. Thousands of priests all over Europe were imprisoned for assisting the Jews or resisting the Nazis. In Poland, Catholic priests were dealt with in an especially harsh manner. Many Polish priests perished in concentration camps, and many Jews escaped persecution because of the efforts of these Christians. Even in Catholic countries that had somewhat fascistic leanings, Jews were often able to find refuge and escape. Catholic Spain is one good example of this. It's estimated that 30,000 Jews escaped from Vichy France through Franco Spain, and Spanish diplomats played a central role in facilitating these escapes. Most of the book deals with Pius's efforts to assist the Jews, but there are also those who argue that Pius was instrumental in espionage efforts, and some that went so far as to assist in the various assassination attempts against Adolf Hitler. And there is evidence that Hitler considered kidnapping the Pope at different points during the war. This, of course, is an odd measure to take for a Pope who was supposed to be a sympathizer. Now, my purpose in doing this presentation is not to put any institution or individual on a pedestal. However, some institutions and individuals and movements never get the benefit of a fair and balanced analysis. When it comes to Christian history, we know all about the dark parts. We're constantly reminded about the Crusades and the Inquisition and the Puritan witch trials. In our day, we know all about the liars and the perverts and the charlatans and the hypocrites who get caught in compromising positions. But we rarely hear about these positive stories. When it comes to the Holocaust, there were so many examples of virtuous Christians who took incredible risks to assist the Jews. And in many cases, these Christians paid an enormous price for their courageous actions. This is a story that should be told. And Rabbi Dalin tells at least one part of it, and he tells it very effectively. I listened to the book on Audible. There is a link below for anybody who's interested. The book is The Myth of Hitler's Pope by David G. Dalin from Regnery Publishing, 2005.